understanding of your eyes would be enlightened. Because God is bringing you bigger than your mind can conceive. Hey family, welcome back to the Root Work Podcast with Tiffany, Malone. This is episode 10 of season 1. And just so that you know, in this first season, this will be the last episode. So I'll be back with you guys, in just a little bit with some really exciting stuff. We've got some exciting things online coming down the pipe for season 2. So y'all hang tight. You'll be getting notifications about it before you know it. And I'm really actually excited about what is coming down the pipeline for season 2. Y'all will just have to wait. It's all cooking up in here and we're making arrangements, but we're really excited about it. But I am excited to be at episode 10, season 1. This has been amazing. I want to, thank all of you guys who have been really supportive of the podcast and all the amazing feedback that we've gotten and how you've been blessed. This is kind of why we do this, right? And so I'm super excited about it. And I thought I'd leave you with this thought for today, for the last episode in the first season. I am like you, probably on social media, and we're watching YouTube, and we are in some way, shape, or form, because of the world we live in, consuming content on a daily basis. And in the midst of all that, we're living our lives, right? If you're a believer like me, you're trying to keep your, relationship with God strong, and you're continuing to grow. And I don't know about you, but it seems like we're inundated all the time with information, right? And, this is the information age, as it's been labeled, right? And so, I think I wrote about in my book, but I read a piece of information a few years ago that said there have been more discoveries, right, in the last 50 years than there have been in the last 500, which is incredible, really. And it's not really shocking to me, because the pace at which things change it's almost breakneck speed, right? I mean, I'm using probably an iPhone that's maybe 2 behind what the latest iPhone is. But, when I go in the store, pay my bill or whatever, the people are looking at me like, you're still using that phone? It's like my computer is probably 2 years old, and you go in to get it checked out, and they're like, you're still using that old thing? And like just a little bit ago, my husband and I went into the Mac store to get him get his computer upgraded, and mine is only like 2.5 years old, but the very same version that they have this year, just the specs on it just knocked mine out. And I'm like, it's not that old. How did technology, improve that fast? And that's just kind of where we are, right? Everything's moving. And when you're in a society where things move that fast, what you find, if you pay attention, is that people get bored, right? Very easy for people to get bored. They get bored with the norm. They get bored with the mundane. Because of the rate at which information is coming at them, and because of the rate at which content is kind of hitting us, we adapt in what I don't think is a healthy way. I don't think it's healthy at all. To the need to be stimulated all the time, right? It's like we because it's hitting us so much, we get sort of sensitized to getting that level of information at that speed, and we want more. And after a while, what is stable, what is sturdy, what may have undergirded kind of the foundation of life as we know it becomes old and old fashioned, and it becomes out of date because we have sort of gotten in rhythm with the culture, and we've gotten in rhythm with the way things are. And when you look around and you look at our world, it's that way, and it affects those of us who are people of faith, right? You just try talking to a non-believer about Jesus, and sometimes take a look at the look on their face, and you would think you were talking about something from another planet or something from another bygone era, because the idea is, oh, that's old, that's outdated. And it got me thinking, with the way that the world is and the way that our society is and the way we tend to think, that the danger of being in this age is this infatuation with the new and the next, right? And sometimes we don't have that appropriate appreciation for what is sturdy and what is true, right? We can wear ourselves out. And I watch some people, even in the Christendom or just different eras, people can wear themselves out trying to be innovative all the time with what is tried and true, which is the gospel. And the gospel does what the gospel does every time, all the time. It always works. It doesn't need appendages. It doesn't need things added on to it. It doesn't need us to bolt our traditions onto it or our denominations. It's not a Jesus plus kind of thing. It just works, right? But sometimes Hebrews kind of talks about sometimes I've been talking to you so long about it, and like you're spiritually dull, right? You don't have that sharp attentiveness to the truth. And sometimes that happens because maybe you've just heard it so much it doesn't resonate as what it is anymore. And I was thinking about that. There's a very real danger of that. And so it got me thinking about and really appreciating people, in my life, the examples that I have seen of people who are just solid and sturdy, right? Along those lines. It got me really thinking, like, what is success, right? What is the aim when we stand before God and it's like, well done, my good and faithful servant? What will that have been in a life, right? It got me thinking about a passage that my father-in-law used to quote all the time when he was alive. He would quote it and we would all know he was about to go right down this passage, and he quoted from the King James Version because he loved that version. It was just Psalms chapter 1. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stands in the way of sinners, right? Nor sits in the seat of the scornful, but his constant delight, it doesn't get old, right, is in the law of the Lord, and in his law does he meditate day and night. And then it says, and he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, and there's this picture of a river that's flowing and changing, and the water, there's this old saying, you never step in the same river twice, right? Because the river is always moving, but the tree that's planted right by the river, right, is stable, is sturdy. I picture its roots getting thicker and thicker year after year because it's planted in good, fertile ground, and it probably draws from the moisture of the river that it's planted beside. And it says it brings forth fruit in its season. And it says the ungodly are not so, right? And so I think about that tree, that solid tree, as almost like a picture of success, right? And it made me think a couple of years ago, the kids were much younger, but we happened to be in Chicago for some reason. It might have been around maybe their spring break. And we went to see what was the old Sears building. And I don't know, it's like 110 stories high. They have a new name for it. I can't remember the name of the building now, but it's huge, right? You go all the way up to the top. It used to be the tallest building in America. I think something else has passed it, or it might have been the tallest building in the world. I don't remember, but it's super tall, right? It's 110 stories. You go up there, and at the top, now they have this little box where the bottom is glass, and it's like a tourist thing. You can take the elevator all the way up to the top, and then you can step out on the glass, and you stand on the glass and you look down, and you're at the 110th story at this super tall building. And I remember when we went a few years ago, I remember being up at the top. I remember the wind blowing, and I remember feeling the building kind of move because the wind was blowing, which always gets my mind moving like, okay, this building's been here for a long time, and clearly nobody would build a building this tall that wasn't safe. How is this thing constructed, right? What makes a building 110 or however many stories tall and stay? And so when I started going down the Google rabbit hole, which by now y'all know I do that a lot, I was reading that those really, really tall buildings often have really, really deep foundations, right? In order to lay the foundation of what will be a very tall building, the engineers and the builders often dig even deeper into the ground to make sure that foundation is laid very, very deep. They're very aware that the wind blows up there. And they're very aware that by the time you get to that 110th whatever, you have all the weight bearing down on the first floor from all the 110 floors beneath it. And they make preparations for that by making sure that it's stable and it's steady, built down deep in a sure foundation. And that got me thinking about the tree that's by the rivers of water. That got me thinking about being stable in an ever-changing society. And I realized that what makes us stable, what makes us solid, what makes us last, what makes us stand the test of time, what will stand us before God at the end and have us look him in the face in the judgment and have him say, "Well done, my good and faithful servant," is not that we grew taller per se, right? And grew in more and more and more and more stuff, but rather that we grew deeper. In order for the tree that's planted by the rivers of water to stay there and to get healthy and to keep bringing forth fruit, what you have to know is that those roots get deeper and deeper and deeper. The better that tree looks, the healthier that foundation is. The higher that building is, the deeper it was dug to build that foundation. The stronger our faith is, the more rooted we are in the very thing that brought us to God to begin with. It's not something new. It's digging down deeper into where we first started. Our faith, right? Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for. Hebrews chapter 1, the evidence of things not seen. By the time you get down to verse 6, he says, without faith, without this must have, it's impossible to please God, right? This is where we started. Jesus says, nobody comes to me except they believe that I'm the Son of God. That's where your salvation experience started. And as people who live in the 21st century, it's very easy for us to think about faith and think about belief as, oh, that's just the beginning foundation. But the reality is, and I said this the other day, I was doing a teaching on another call. And I said, there are some things in our walk you don't ever outgrow. You never graduate from God constantly asking you at the next level the same question. And the question goes like this: do you trust me? Right? He asks you that the day you decide to give him your hand and decide to give him your life. He asks you that the day you've been walking with him for 25 years and he's trusted you with many, many things. And you're at a very, very deep place where you're about to step into the next level of faith or the next level of glory. The question he's always asking is, do you trust me? Same question. It's never a different question. That question grows with you. That is the question that if you never fail to answer properly, makes the roots of your life deep roots so that the tree always bears fruit in every season, right? That is the question that if you stay with God and continue to answer it properly, answer it honestly. Yes, I trust you. Even at the next place you're calling me to, ensures that that deep foundation supports a tall structure that grows to the glory of God, right? But that is the question that if we get tired, if we get bored, if we get distracted with all the things that the world wants to show us, and if we take our eye off the cross, if we take our eye off God, if we take our eye and we're drawn away like so many have been, the foundation that we're trying to build gets shaky, right? Because even in 1 Peter, I think it's 1 Peter, no, it's 2 Peter chapter 1. Peter says in the passage where he says, now his divine power has given us all things we need for life and godliness, right? And then he goes on to talk about, to the scripture that we know. Add to your faith, right? And he's virtue, knowledge, and the New Living Translation says a generous provision of moral excellence and knowledge and self-control and patient endurance and godliness and brotherly affection with love. And he's saying, to your faith, add all these things. But sometimes we're trying to add things without the foundation being laid, right? And then what you get is just a really, really neat stick house. Yeah, all the walls are painted nice and you've got great decorations and maybe even good furniture. But it's like, the three bears. And then the wolf comes and he says, and I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down because your house is made of straw. Because you didn't build on the solid foundation, because the roots aren't deep, because you didn't dig down deep enough. And so I guess if I had to leave you with anything today, I would challenge you not to be enamored with, not to be fascinated by so much what is new and what is shiny. But I would challenge you to find the beauty, the fascination, the amazement in what has stood the test of time. I would challenge you to find the fascination in those things that are solid, those things that have stood the test of time, those things that are from God, those things that are tried and true, those things that are truth. And I would challenge you to find the place to dig down and lay deep, deep roots and deep foundations. And instead of being distracted by what's new, I would challenge you to grab a hold to what is true, and to lay your foundation, good decision by good decision, faith to faith, glory to glory, and add all those things I just mentioned to your faith. That is the sure foundation. In a world that anything goes, people believe anything. They believe everything. They believe nothing. What is true is still true. And I would hate for us to build a beautiful house made of straw that when the shaking of life comes, and it is coming, your house is blown down because you didn't build it on a good foundation. You didn't build it with the solid materials that the truth provides. And so that's just my thought. That's just my thought. I challenge us. I challenge you as you go about your day today and then the days to come. And as you see the new thing, the shiny thing, the new thing, maybe it's okay. But maybe we take a fresh look at an old friend and we see the value that's there in what has always been, what is true. And that's the work that I challenge you to do along the route this time. I am going to see you guys in season 2. It has been a blast. Keep your girl in prayer, and I'll be praying for you. Thanks, family. Love you. See you next time.